guys, it's Hailey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a review on the 9th installment of the Saw franchise, Spiral. This came out quote-unquote today. Technically it was yesterday, but you guys know, if you've been on my channel for long or if you were here for any of my horror content, I am a huge Saw enthusiast. The Saw films, at least 1 through 7, is what I consider like the canon Saw franchise, are my favorite movies on the planet. Besides Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd is my number 1. But as opposed to like horror films, straight up horror films, Saw is number 1 for me. So you already know your girl had to go see this technically like the next day that it came out. And it was very important to me. I was very excited to go see it. That being said, I think a lot of diehard Saw fans can relate to this. This series just keeps on going. It feels like we are milking a dead cow here. Like, they're just pumping more and more out, and they have nothing to do with the original, and they weren't really needed. So I think a lot of people are very like, I don't even care about them, or a lot of people didn't even know that they were happening, or at least this one. Jigsaw, mind you, came out about 2 years ago, 2 or 3, I'm losing track of time. And that movie was okay to me. I didn't like it a lot. I didn't hate it either. I think they could have done a worse job with it, but it definitely didn't feel like it needed to be there. And Saw has always been this. It's an excuse to get people to go to the theater. People love watching the Saw traps. They love watching the gore and watching more of this storyline unfold. So this movie was, Chris Rock was in it, the comedian Chris Rock. Samuel L. Jackson was in it as well, which got me a little more excited because, hello, big name, huge actor. So it gave me a little bit more hope that it would actually be a good, needed storyline. So it sounds like Chris Rock is a big fan of the Saw franchise, and he is the one who dipped his feet into this. Like, he had something to do with making the movie, and they told him to be in the movie then. That being said, this movie had a lot of comedy, which I had already, going into the movie, predicted. Like, there's going to be some comedy in it, which didn't necessarily bother me. But the tone of the film definitely felt different than the original 7, and even the last one, Jigsaw. It felt a lot different from that. So going into the theater, I already had this mindset of prepare to be somewhat disappointed. When this movie came out, I definitely wasn't thinking it was going to be anything great, but I also knew, hey, I'm going to go see it. I'm a diehard Saw fan. I'm going to see it. I will give this franchise my money, of course. And then I saw the trailer, I think 2 weeks ago for it, like the newer trailer, and it actually looked really good. So my hopes were a little higher than they should have been. I'm going to straight up, I guess, give you my rating now. I rate the movie a solid 5 out of 10. I'm going to be getting into why. It definitely wasn't a great movie. It definitely isn't something I will rush to buy anytime soon. And it definitely wasn't the worst thing either. It was okay. It was fun. It was a fun ride. It was a fun movie to watch. But I'm going to be getting into why it's only a 5 out of 10. So number 1, the Saw traps were so boring. They weren't good. They didn't live up to the original Saw traps from the original 7 movies whatsoever. And that was my complaint with the last Saw movie too. With Jigsaw, I didn't like any of the traps. And that was a complaint that I heard a lot of people mention. With this one, going into the movie, the first 3 minutes of the movie were so solid. The trap that was shown felt very canon to the original movies. Like, it was that same energy, that same vibe. It even had that really quick camera, like where it's zooming around, which I live for. That really cheesy thing that Saw always does. It did that. Had the same music, same feel, everything. The only thing, the voice that they use in the recordings and the videos and all of that, you know, the ones that Billy the Puppet usually says, the voice was horrible. It was god awful, and not just because it wasn't the original. It just sounded like a wannabe scary voice, and it was bad. Hated it. But besides that, I was smiling. I was grinning in the little theater seat because I was like, oh my god, I am getting another installment. This is actually going to be good. Well, spoiler alert, the traps only get worse. That was the best trap in the movie. It was the only trap that made me cringe a little bit, and I was like, oh, only trap that did that. The rest of them, I was like, that's it? That's it? Like, come on. So that alone, which, and I'm one of those people that the Saw traps aren't everything, but they're fun. They are so fun. I love the gore in Saw, but I also love the storyline even more. And this storyline was just completely unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. And no characters from the old Saw movies were even mentioned besides John Kramer. And that was only just basically that he was Jigsaw at one point. I brought my father to go see the movie with me, and he has only watched 1 or 2 of the Saw movies, and he didn't need to even have any previous knowledge. Like, he understood everything and wasn't confused about anything, because you don't need to see any of the movies going into this. That's how little to do with the original franchise that it was. Like, it just didn't even correlate at all. Semi-spoiler alert. I'm not going to say who Jigsaw was, but I'm going to get into a couple things. I am so tired of these movies picking up with these new characters. Like, I don't care about them. We had 7 movies with character development from these characters, and then they dropped them. And some of their storylines could have easily been picked up again because they didn't technically end. These movies keep introducing these new characters I have no, like, I just don't care that much about. And this movie ended exactly how I thought it would, which isn't everything, don't get me wrong, but one thing I love about the Saw movies is the ability for them to just go in my mind and completely screw everything up. I don't know what is happening when I'm watching a Saw movie. I drive myself crazy trying to figure out the ending and what that, plot twist, those last 5 minutes, that plot twist, what it's gonna be. I guessed who Jigsaw was the first 20 minutes of the movie, and I was right. And I thought that might be a more satisfying feeling if I was right, but it wasn't. It was very, I felt like it was very thoughtless. Like, they didn't put a lot of thought into the movie, and I was just like, oh, I was right. Wow. And the movie ended so just, it didn't end well at all. Like, it wasn't a good ending. And I don't mean good as in it was a happy ending. No, it just wasn't a good wrap up to the movie. I think that a lot of people really like the plot twists and the ability for them to actually wow you, and this just didn't wow me at all. It felt like a Saw fan went and wrote a fanfic of the movie, kind of their own little take on it, and it got approved and got made into a movie. That's what this movie felt like. It also felt very, very rushed. Like, the beginning of the movie felt like it was taking its time, and I would say the last 40 minutes of the movie happened so quick that you're literally watching it and you're like, oh my god, it's already ending. Before I knew it, that ending music happened, which was really nice to hear, don't get me wrong. I love when the Saw movie is wrapping up and you hear like that da-da-da, da-da-da, that it happened. But the reveal was so oh, already? Like that? That's like how they're doing it? And it was over before you know it. And it felt so rushed and short to me. And maybe it was because of the lack of saw traps, the lack of gore, the lack of all that shit. But it felt like it was missing something. It really felt like it was missing something. And the reason that I'll even give it as high of a rating as 5 and not any lower is because it was fun. All in all, it was fun. They didn't do anything too stupid to the point that I was like, what the hell? Besides the voice. That voice was horrible and unforgivable. But they still kept the Saw pig masks in there, which I really liked. They did do away with any Billy the Puppet references, even the puppet he uses in the videos. It was this weird little pig one, which was But this whole movie had to do with the police force, so that kind of made sense at least. It was like, oh, okay. Another theme that wasn't too far off of Saw was the whole police force idea, this movie following that. That wasn't enough to close off the movie for me, because if you've watched the original 7 movies, you know that a lot of the movie has to do with police or detectives. That's a big theme in the Saw movie, so it still felt relevant. But my biggest thing I am going to rant about, that some of you may agree, some of you may disagree, is, let's hope you've seen the Saw movies, right? Why are you watching a girl rant on for more than 9 minutes if you haven't? But Detective Mark Hoffman, aka the second Jigsaw. We all know there was John Kramer, but Hoffman was Jigsaw that basically picked up where, Saw ended, with John Kramer dying. He was Jigsaw from then on. Hopefully I'm not spoiling this if you haven't seen Saw, but technically it never shows him die at all. It literally ends with Dr. Gordon, the original doctor from the first Saw, locking him in the original Saw room, that bathroom scene room, and saying game over. Yes, it's implied that he died. How would he make it out of there? Yada, yada, yada. He technically never was shown on screen dying. They could have easily not even resurrected him because he didn't technically die. They could have easily brought him back for these these additional movies and made them so much juicier, so much better. And I think I had a little bit of hope in my heart that they would, because I love that storyline so much with Detective Hoffman. And it didn't happen in this film or in Jigsaw. So if you're looking forward to that possibility happening, it doesn't. Maybe I'm the only one who even cares, would want to see that, but as an original Saw fan, I really, really was hoping that he would have something to do maybe with, like, you know, this new Jigsaw, or maybe he would be Jigsaw at the end of the movie or something. Like, I feel like they could have tied him in and they didn't. I don't know. I feel bad in a sense because I do feel like I'm tearing this movie apart, and it doesn't deserve to be torn apart completely. It wasn't a horrible movie, but coming from a diehard Saw fan, it just wasn't, I guess, worth any, like, need to happen. It didn't need to happen. And it's just, I know I'm not going to really care about it, like, even a year or two from now. It's just not very memorable in terms of storyline. I don't know. Hopefully you guys are planning on seeing it or have already seen it. If you have watched it, let me know your opinions down below. I want to talk to some other horror fans, see your opinions. I haven't really heard anyone else besides me talk about this yet, so I did want to push this video out before I see anything that'll change my mind. This was my initial opinion leaving the movie without hearing anyone else's take that has, you know, shaped mine at all. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. I'm sorry if this video felt all over the place. I don't even know if there's certain topics I got into and didn't finish. Saw is such a heavy franchise to me. Like, I feel like there's 7 original movies and now 9 movies total, that there's a lot of ground to cover. So I hope I didn't jump all over the place too much for you. Hopefully you were able to keep up with me. I'm sorry if I did go a bit quick over the whole franchise. But also, before I end this video, what is your guys' take on Spiral and Jigsaw? Do you consider them to be canon to the 7 movies? Like, do you consider there to be 9 canon Saw films? Are these just adaptions or kind of add-ons that you don't consider like the actual Saw universe? How do you feel about them? I don't even know the correct answer for that, like the technical answer of if these are supposed to technically be, you know. I think that they are, because Twisted Pictures made this movie. Like, when I was watching the movie before it started, Twisted Pictures popped up on the screen, so I feel like that means it is. But coming from me, if someone were to ask me how many Saw movies there are 7. There are 7 Saw movies. So let me know your guys' opinion on that down below, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.